Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another episode of the Rule 34 podcast. I'm your host, Jack, joined by my fellow reoccurring guest,
Mr. Solis. Hello, and happy fall break.
Hello, sir. It's been a while since the last recording that we've done on WWE.
Hell in the Cell, right?
Yes.
Yeah, good for WWE for putting some time in between events.
Yeah. And, I've always kind of thought that they, I guess that's what keeps, NXT real fresh. I mean, this year we kind of seen them doing more, but usually they only do, maybe, anywhere between 3 and 5 takeovers a year,
Yeah.
Whereas, WWE kind of does one each month, which I guess, for the main roster and the size they have, it kind of works, but at the same time, you wish there's a bit more time between each event for more building,
And WWE has done it where each brand would kind of go 2 months,
Yeah.
before their event. They've done that before, but they come to realize that neither roster is strong enough to stand on its own. So they got to do these super shows where we see them both all the time.
Yeah.
But Jack, we're talking today about Survivor Series. It's the only night of the year where the two brands go head-to-head in direct competition.
Well, I mean, sure, if just like the rest of the fans kind of want to ignore, like WWE does, the whole wild card rule.
And completely ignore the fact that a lot of people representing their brand last night were on the other brand about 4 weeks ago.
Yeah. That's the one thing, I can get, when you have certain, superstars feuding, kind of like how NXT does with War Games, where, even then it's kind of it's people forgetting about, everything that's going on to focus on this one event. But,
Yeah.
at least with War Games, it plays onto a feud that, a bunch of people are feuding with, and then the feuds get intertwined with one another. So that's what brings the teams to fight each other.
Yeah.
Whereas, Survivor Series, it used to be kind of like that, where there would be, some kind of, team captain. It wasn't necessarily brand versus brand. But,
No.
the more they've gone towards brand versus brand, the more people are kind of well, does it really make sense that these guys are fighting for SmackDown when, I'll bring this up, even though we saw how it played out, did it make sense for a guy like Rollins to fight for SmackDown when he's been on Raw all these years?
To add to that, Jack, one thing I'm really over is this brand warfare between Raw and SmackDown.
Yeah.
It makes slightly more sense that they're on 2 different networks. I wish this was more about the networks, like I think it was last year. But it's really lazy writing. What you were telling WWE to do when you say quit this Raw versus SmackDown nonsense that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Is what you're telling them is, hey, write a story that's compelling enough to top or to end at Survivor Series or progress through Survivor Series.
Yeah. And, when they brought in NXT last year, I found it really exciting and stuff and really interesting because, it made it seem since they've always considered, they never really said it, but, NXT was always considered the developmental brand,
Right.
It was interesting to see what the supposed rookies of WWE, going against the supposed top shows, But then it also, again, it brought up the issue of, you see a lot of these guys, you see guys like Ricochet fighting on Team Raw, the Street Profits fighting for Raw and stuff, and it was you guys were just on NXT earlier this year, and, for the most part, you can say some of you were treated better on NXT. Why are you fighting for the main brand?
We didn't see NXT participate this year's Survivor Series because there wasn't a Saudi Arabia to leave the roster stranded on the other side of the world. Hot take there.
Yeah. It really sucks that NXT didn't partake this year, and but it's understandable given the certain situations at hand, I will say this though, as we get into this event, I don't know if you felt this way, but it really felt like there wasn't any anticipation for the event other than the 30 years of Undertaker.
Yeah.
It really felt like there wasn't any real build up to the event.
It's true. It's funny. We're making fun of the WWE for being so inconsistent with the brand split, We didn't feel it really built because there wasn't a bunch of spillover. You know what I mean? There's no invasion. Yeah. There was no, faces to face. We saw folks face each other for the first time last night because of the brand split. You go, wait a minute. That's why it feels so underwhelming.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, there's a ton of focus mentioned throughout the night about the man of the hour, the Phenom, the Undertaker.
Yeah. And before we get into it, I just want to mention this because I thought about it. I was thinking, man, how is it that they couldn't create any anticipation for this event? They had almost 4 weeks. The only real sort of proper build-up we got was McIntyre versus Roman, which, before we get into that, it seemed weird because McIntyre wasn't champion at the time. So it was why is McIntyre coming across brands to go at Reigns when Orton's the champion,
Yeah.
But I thought about it, and then I saw what happened on NXT recently. And I literally told my dad, I'm like, isn't it crazy how they had 4 weeks to hype up Survivor Series? There was barely any anticipation. Yet NXT was able to get everyone anticipated for their next event with just these 2 words.
Of War Games! War Games!
Well done. Well timed.
It's
There's
crazy.
time at the end. I'll tell you how I feel about War Games. Or do you want to know it now?
Sure, why not right now?
I hate Pat McAfee, but I don't hate Pat McAfee the way he thinks I hate him or the way he thinks I should hate him. I hate he's going to be an active participant in War Games. I hate he's going to be he's not going to be the first person out in War Games. I hate that he fought Adam Cole so competitively in that match. He's nobody. You know what I mean? He is the reason Wikipedia is so successful. It's so frustrating. I like that Oney Lorcan and Danny Burch have got a mouthpiece and the titles. Pete Dunne doesn't make any sense with them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I like face Undisputed Era. That's nice.
Yeah.
But Pat McAfee, no, I really wish that experiment was over in SummerSlam weekend.
Yeah. But so, getting into Survivor Series now, a bit of a surprise. We started off with the men's elimination match,
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. A nice start, hot start, ton of guys out there. Who's participating, Jack?
So it was AJ Styles. Hold on.
Got it?
So it was AJ Styles, Matt Riddle, Keith Lee, Braun Strowman, and Sheamus on Raw.
You mean Riddle?
Riddle, yes, correct. Versus, it was Jey Uso,
Yep.
Otis, Kevin Owens, Seth Rollins, and King Corbin on SmackDown.
That's right.
And, we mentioned the lack of anticipation for the event. The anticipation I had was a couple of weeks ago. It might have even been almost a month ago that I heard that Keith Lee had gone out to New York to record a new entrance theme. And finally, at Survivor Series, he comes out and he has a new entrance theme.
I heard it too. And it's very similar in tone as his original one in NXT because he's singing it, and it's good. It's way better than the generic kind of stock song that they gave him in September.
Yeah. I'm personally, I agree with some people, it's not as good as the original, but it's definitely better than giving them that generic Superstar number 8 theme songs that they did.
For sure.
Yeah, but so the kind of storyline going into this really was that both teams kind of were struggling to coexist, I guess you could say. I don't know, especially, I think that was the main thing for Raw. But...
Jack, I lost you a bit there. I wonder, was I frozen on your end?
A bit, yeah.
Okay. Well, while we talk, I'm just going to be deleting internet windows, because I surely have more open than I need on phone break.
Yeah, but, so... it starts off really weird with Rollins' sacrifice.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess you could say that kind of set the tone for what the rest of the match was going to be like.
Absolutely. You also called out earlier that he has been predominantly a Raw guy since his debut, more or less. So that move to SmackDown in October kind of went against, where his allegiance, I guess, has always been.
Yeah.
I was surprised, but in a nice way, as far as, like, how they dealt with that.
Yeah. I took it as, I guess he himself wanted to get it as over as quickly as possible just because, Rollins is going to have a child soon. And so I take it as the kayfabe way of writing him out.
Yeah.
And I think because, it was a sacrifice, and he said for the greater good, what it says to me is that either we're going to see him come back with some type of change to his current character, or, he's going to, like, completely change his whole character to something new, saying that sacrifice was the end of his Messiah gimmick,
Interesting. I did not think that hard about that.
Yeah.
I know about his upcoming hiatus, his upcoming paternity leave, and I was surprised that the rest of the SmackDown team didn't just beat him up on his way out, to, like, further establish he would be physically unfit to come back to SmackDown on a regular basis.
Yeah, like, when I saw all of them get down to, like, yell at him, I was like, so are they going to, like, start kicking him at least or something? Are they going to put him through the announce table? What's going on?
We got a lot of match coming up, so we're probably reserving the table for that. Am I right?
So then, you kind of get that whole thing of each person kind of gets some momentum, do some moves and stuff. And then they finally get to the point where both the teams just start brawling with each other.
Yeah. And
you get to the point where, Owen starts stunnering everyone, and then he finally gets eliminated, where, I watched it and I was like, okay, I guess they're giving Owen something, giving him at least some type of fight. But, like, to me, it kind of seemed he was eliminated pretty quickly,
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Frustratingly quickly. Yeah. Also, this is where, like, my brother hasn't watched wrestling at all since Austin. Is quick to tell me that Owens' stunner just doesn't quite hit the same way a Stone Cold stunner would.
Yeah. That's one thing that, like, I even wrote it down because, like, as I watched it, I was like, sure, it's entertaining, but I was like, Owens really does need a new finisher similar to Big E.
Oh, yeah. I got you. I mean, the stunner would work. I don't know if it's maybe the guy who takes it that's not making it as exciting.
Yeah.
It's an interesting, like, exercise and, like, logic and psychology, maybe it is.
Yeah. But then Owens is eliminated.
Yep.
And you kind of see more of them going back and forth. I think the only ones left were Corbin, Uso, and Otis at this point.
That's right.
And I believe Corbin gets eliminated next, because then it leaves finally just Uso and Otis.
And he gets eliminated by Riddle, which is nice because, kind of a subtle callback to their feud from, like, October and September.
Yeah. And, I would say that's one thing I really like, calling back to that, that they still have history. Especially, they mentioned it going all the way back to last Survivor Series when Riddle was eliminated.